welcome to the new episode of Gorilla Cast. Today, we're going to take a slightly different topic from the ones that we've been discussing so far. We've been talking about everything in terms of building an early stage business, into financing a business and finding your product market fit. But today's topic, whilst different, is extremely important, and it's something that during my years as an entrepreneur, I've often struggled with, and that's how do you really balance building your business with taking care of yourself when it comes to fitness and sleep and nutrition and so forth. And today in the studio, I'm happy to welcome Levi Earl. Glad to call you a friend. And Levi, would you give us a quick introduction into who you are?
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Ami, and great to be here. So my background is I'm from the United Kingdom. I was immigrated to the USA when I was around about 18, 19. A few years later than that, I immigrated to Finland and built a business and career living in a country where I didn't speak the language. I still have struggles with it, but built my career, built my skill set, built a business, and expanding all the time into this industry of health and fitness and working with professional sports athletes and businessmen like yourself. And yeah, wife, 3 kids, dog, everything's, happy days, but it was a struggle along the way, of course, to develop myself into an industry which I had, no experience in, and to build myself up into where I am today. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, Levi. I think one of the things we first discussed when I asked you to join the episode is that when I look back into my journey as an entrepreneur and working in business, you usually have more things than you have time to do. And one of the things that I've noticed myself doing easily is that when your calendar just fills in, when there are too many things to do, one of the first things that I easily skip is my workout routine. And then I realize later on that leads into a whole host of other issues. But if you would talk first on a broader level, what's the importance of exercise, nutrition, and sleep in a person's life?
Yeah, I think, just on that, I mean, the question comes down to is that why is it the first thing that you want to give up is your health and fitness and your sleep and so on. As an entrepreneur, if we look at the importance of longevity, I think we all understand that it's highly important to look after yourself, So as an entrepreneur, I think it gets pushed to the side, whether it's like a depressive nature that you're pushing so hard with the work, or your calendar's so full, or it's like your mindset for clarity in those moments. It's the easiest thing to give up because it's your own personal self, it's your own time. So I think that's where we can like really take a look at with our own, how to say this, mindset of growth, how to like keep this going,
No, that's true. And if we kind of start thinking about those sorts of things, I think one of the other aspects in there is that you don't necessarily see immediate setbacks. So you skip one workout, you have one bad night of sleep, you decide to neglect your nutrition for a couple of days, eat whatever you want. There's no immediate reminder to you, but when you do that consistently, all of a sudden you start to see that there are a lot of setbacks. So if we dive into those areas a little bit one by one, busy professional trying to be smart about their nutrition, what do you think are the key elements that one should pay attention to?
Which aspect? Like you mean in
just in terms of eating healthy, in the grind of the day?
I mean, there's so many protocols out there which we can take a look at, and I think one thing also as people who are in this industry or as an entrepreneur themselves, they probably listen to the stuff on the social media nowadays. You've heard of fasting, you've heard of like specific type of diets and so on, and I think that there is a key way to look at these things. It's like there's specific times and places to do certain things. So, for example, being having a breakfast. Like I
Mm.
love having breakfast. I think it's a very important part of the
Mm.
day. Whether that suits that moment for that person, it depends on the certain circumstances.
Mhm.
So, for example, if I take a flight
Mhm.
and I come in the morning on a morning flight, I'm typically not eating breakfast. I feel like fasting works better for me.
Mhm.
And I think that is the key factor for entrepreneurs is to actually listening to the body and listening to what the body is needing to be the most productive in the day. So, for example, I personally work better with a no carb diet.
Mhm.
I feel like I have better productivity. I have lots of clients and businessmen
Mhm.
who work really well with a low carb
Mhm.
breakfast. Now, I'm not saying low carb is for everybody. I'm not saying fasting is for
Mhm.
everybody. But to use certain types of protocols for certain circumstances,
Mhm.
it will help the health last longer and be able to keep your performance at a higher rate. So I think working and being conscious about how the body is reacting and what the body needs, I think this is the bigger key thing for getting the most out of yourself.
Yeah. No, I think that's really, as you said, that's the key thing, being conscious enough that you think about these things and you try to adapt to whatever works best for you, given your own lifestyle and situation.
Yeah, and I think the consciousness there that like that's the first thing that when you get busy, you
Mhm.
become less conscious of your own health,
Yeah.
because you're trying to prioritize a certain aspect of in your careers or in your business productivity. And the consciousness of yourself, that is something which we should be a little bit more mindful with.
Very good. Then, if we focus on the topic of fitness a little bit, I know, as you said, the internet is full of different people talking about different fitness schemes and things like that. And once again, there, I think uh, different things are suitable for different individuals. But if we talk a little bit about strength training and the benefits of doing some sort of resistance training, how would you characterize that? What's the benefit of finding time for that?
I mean, strength training as a whole, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Many people don't like strength training.
Mhm.
Many people would prefer to go for a run or to play sports or paddle, whatever it is. I mean, being
Mhm.
active is fine enough. How I feel with it is that, especially as we age, we need to be keeping some form of strength resistance based training in our lifestyles. We know from a longevity perspective that it is very crucial that we do some forms of a resistance training. The best thing with the resistance based training is that you can see yourself, your progress.
Mhm.
If I go for a 10-kilometer run and I'm not tracking time and I'm not tracking how my heart rate is, and I'm basically not having all these data sets like put out in front of me to see am my times getting better, that 10K run, it's very hard for me to assess if I'm actually improving or not. But when you do resistance based training like strength training, if I bench press 100 kilos today and I bench press 101 kilos the next workout, I can clearly see my progress. And I think when you come into this from a business perspective, like you you need discipline, you need to be patient, you need to put the work in. And when you see the progress, it's very visible and it's very like it's a nice hit of dopamine when you're making that progress. So I think this is where resistance training comes in.
I fully agree with you, and it's that's where I find it sometimes to be a little bit paradoxical that that same resilience discipline that you need for your workout is usually the same ingredients that you need for building a good business.
Yeah.
So one would assume that if you're disciplined in building your business, you can also find the discipline for your personal health. But oftentimes it doesn't seem to go hand in hand easily, at least.
Plus,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
plus when you age, there, I mean, especially when age comes into, I mean, you know, we want to still be making progress as we age. Okay, and I'm not saying
Yeah,
strength
yeah.
is one of the factors that
Oh.
you can keep forever,
Yeah.
but at least we know the numbers. At least you can see the numbers that you're lifting, and is it getting better? Are you trying to strive for something? And that's something which I think helps also consistency in business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had episodes here purely dedicated to metrics and how you should measure your progress in business. So it's exactly the same thing. So knowing that a lot of entrepreneurs are really busy and the schedules are difficult, if we talk about strength training and working out, what would you say would be kind of the minimal effective dose that one should do a week in order to maintain fitness and maybe even progress it?
I mean, maintenance is a very, well, it depends where you currently are.
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger thing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, my maintenance will be completely different to the next guy sat next to me. So, what do I think we should do for health? I mean, the research shows that even 5 minutes of exercise per day will help health, will help keeping your body healthy. Now, to make progress, that's a different factor. For example, we look at it in the strength training world that if you stop making progress, then we somehow need to change the training program to provide a different stimulus for your body to adapt to help you overcome that plateau. But would you prefer to like talk more about what would be the main parts for the health, or would it be more towards making progress? Like we could say, okay, we can stimulate the body parts 3 times a week.
Yeah.
We'll make progress in that sense. If we talk about just having basic health, we could talk about doing push-ups in the morning, squats in the morning, these type of things.
Yeah, I think all of those are relevant. What I was maybe looking for here was a little bit of that if you are running a business, if you are conscious of taking care of your kind of health and physique, what do you need to at least commit to? But I think you made a great point that the basic keeping yourself healthy, it's minutes or tens of minutes a day. But then it becomes a question, well, if there's something additional you want to achieve, then you put in the more effort. Yeah.
More effort you need to put in if there's something you want to achieve. I can say from myself, like I always say that even in the I call it the thick of it.
Yeah.
So that means that I'm probably cranking on 4 hours of sleep per night. I'm in the thick of it with the business. There's so many moving parts, and it's carrying on for weeks, and things are getting very hectic. So my minimum for me to stay healthy is a cold shower in the morning, followed by push-ups or squats, and then every day I do that cold shower, I add a push-up. I add a squat. So if it's 30, next day is 31, 32. And that is one way that I can keep the smallest amount of progress happening in my life whilst trying to keep my body somewhat healthy. So that's what I would do in the thick of it. Then when you have more time, you can give more effort for progress. So
that makes sense. You touched upon on this a little bit already, but I want to dig a little bit deeper into it, that when we talk about the physical training and when you do your workouts, of course, obviously it's good for your body. But there's a mental benefit as well. So how do you see the correlation between taking care of your body and how it impacts you in terms of mentally being able to do business?
Well, I think the body is a byproduct. I think the mental state is the larger thing for me. personally. When it's the athletes, when I'm coaching Olympians or so on, obviously we need the physical attributes and so on to be at the level so that they can perform on the higher stage. But for me as an entrepreneur, I'm actually also exercising. Well, want to look good naked, it helps. But the main part is actually that I want to be clear for the day. If I exercise, the mental clarity, the dopamine I get from it, the hormone production, everything then just makes the rest of the day easy. Every trouble that comes in, I go, "Oh, I've already done a hard workout today. Don't worry about it. I'll overcome this one as well." So you kind of just build up this level of being able to achieve things and overcome hard times, so that anything in the business world kind of, it seems pretty like, yeah, it's hard for the moment, but you know you're going to get over it, just like your workout was. So I think that's one of the things that you develop as a mindset.
Absolutely. You get this mental toughness, and I think there's also, it helps you manage stress as well when you're taking care of your body as well. A personal preference question in terms of, do you enjoy the morning workouts so that you can then feel good the rest of the day, or is it easier for you to do evenings? What's your personal preference?
My personal preference is that I have to get it done.
Yeah.
So I don't really give a shit whether it's in the morning or in the evening, 3 in the morning or 10 p.m. It doesn't matter to me.
Just get it done.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Do I advise that? No. But I've took my genetic testing. I know my body well enough. I don't have any issues with falling asleep straight after. So for me, it works completely fine to do whatever time of the day. Do I advise it for most people? No. I live around training, so therefore I'm always next to a gym. I'm always next to some training environment, so I can always get it in. For entrepreneurs, for people in business, I highly recommend it's the first thing that you do in the day. And if you say that you don't have time, then wake up earlier and get it done. Whether it's 20 minutes or 40 minutes or 10 minutes, the point being is that you just do it first thing in the morning, so that you don't have this, like, you finish your day and it's, and now I'm supposed to go. It's just like dragging yourself over into a different training environment. It's so much more difficult for the mindset. And to be honest, most people will struggle to keep consistent with that, you know? So I think the first thing in the morning for entrepreneurs or anybody in the business world, we see a lot more productivity.
No, that makes sense, and it resonates very well with myself as well, because when you're having a busy day and you do know that you need to get your workout in as well, you're spending unnecessary effort thinking about, I need to get this done. You go in the morning, you get it done. You don't have to worry about it at all during the day, and then you can just focus on business. So.
And even if it's a short one, if you just get a short one and you think, okay, maybe I'll go to the gym later on. But even if you can't, if something pops up and you got this emergency call, you go, well, at least I did it in the morning. At least I did that thing. So it's like, it's much easier.
True. You've mentioned sleep a couple of times now, and having followed your schedule, I do know that 4 hours you're giving yourself is generous by when I look at when you're up. But how do you see the importance of sleep? And I do know also that it's highly individual in terms of how much people need. But what would be your general guidance to sleep and recovery?
Don't get me wrong there. I don't sleep every night 4 hours, but you know, in business, sometimes you got to pull the all-nighters. You know, we like to think entrepreneurs are sexy life, but it's a bit of a struggle most of the time. So you got to pull some all-nighters. But no, in general, I mean, we know very clearly, without sleep, decision making, results is much, much, much harder to achieve without adequate amount of sleep. It's black and white for that. So I personally work very well on about 7.5 hours of sleep. So if I need to wake up for 3:30, it means I go to bed at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
If I got to be up at 5, it means I go to bed at 10.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. It's not watching Netflix till midnight and getting the 5 hours. Okay. No, I work with myself to put sleep as a priority, and then my sleep will dictate my training load.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sleep so much, I can't train so much.
Mm.
If I sleep more, I can train more. And it's a very simple process.
Yeah. Makes absolute sense. I think one of the kind of relevant topic for a lot of our listeners is that they do travel a lot for business, and whenever you travel, it throws off both your sleep and your training schedule and so forth. So what would you recommend people take into consideration when they're traveling, when there's jet lag, when it comes to sleep?
Yeah, there's a few ways that you can kind of mitigate the jet lag effect. I mean, we have athletes traveling through different time zones consistently, so usually you can use like certain supplementation protocols to help with them, help with the jet lag effects. There are hydration protocols as well. Uh, my always go to is that sleep around the traveling as much as you can. So, for example, sleep on the plane. You don't need to watch a movie. Sleep when you get to the hotel. Or actually, one of the things I tell them to do is actually exercise as soon as they get off the plane.
Yeah.
So they get to the hotel, go straight down in the gym, do 10 minutes on a bike, get your body moving, and then go to sleep if you want to or you need to. But around the jet lag stuff, your best bet is always going to be taking naps, getting sleep on the plane, sleep before, sleep after.
Yeah. Very good. Speaking of sleep, or moving from sleep then to talking about kind of stress and recovery a little bit more, we talked about the beauty of strength training being the fact that you can always see your progress, you can always measure your results in a very very simple way. When it comes to your fitness, your strength management, your recovery, what are some of the key metrics that you would use to follow those types of things?
So you mean like wearables, like?
Well, I think wearables are becoming more and more kind of common, but are there any others? How would you go about doing it?
I mean, what you have on hand, it's always going to be different to take in these like keep KPIs for yourself. So that's why the wearables do become more. The one factor that I always advise every businessman to have on hand is actually a blood pressure monitor. Like, stress goes high. You gotta check your blood pressures. Okay, that's a very, very key metric. Like, you don't need to pack it in your suitcase with you, but when you get home, you want to be looking after yourself. So, I want to be checking the blood pressure. I advise very frequently. Well, this might sound frequent, very frequently, but you want to be taking a blood test over the age of 30, minimally once a year, optimally 4 times. Then, depending on the values that you're having and the age that you have, we also want to be maybe assessing hormone levels. But these are not like on a day-to-day basis. These are like your phases in the year, like 3-month phases, 6-month phases. These are the type of metrics that you want. The blood pressure stuff is usually what you can do on a weekly basis, just to make sure that nothing's going wrong, or on a monthly basis. But then you do want to be taking some metrics for yourself and not waiting till the problem has arrived, being proactive before it comes.
That's really good advice, and I do have to say myself that I'm 47 now, and I'm starting to see people that I know develop these conditions just all of a sudden without any warning. So I think the advice is really good that the more in tune you are, the more you follow what's happening, then the
Yeah.
earlier you'll be able to react if there is something that
But I
you
mean,
need to
the
react
maths
on.
the maths is basic
Yeah.
with it. I mean, if you think about it, after the age of 30, we start to deteriorate a little bit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, we're not so fresh and young. The recovery rates are going down. The cells in our body are dying down with the amount that we have available to us. So, of course, we're going to develop some of these things. And the healthier you are, the less likely chance you have these.
Mhm.
So, taking a basic blood test 3 to 4 times a year, it's very easy.
Yeah.
It's very simple to do.
Yeah. Those are all really good measures. You mentioned the wearables, and I think one of the things that seems to be going around now quite a bit is that a lot of the strength coaches and individuals as such are looking at the HRV, the heart rate variability. What's your view on HRV and its usefulness as
No,
a
of course.
tool?
It's very useful. It's very useful. I have a little bit of a personal opinion to this,
Yeah.
which, the science is all there. I'm not going to go anything
Yeah.
against that. I personally, I work with pro sports,
Yeah. Yeah.
professional
Yeah.
athletes who are
Yeah.
getting paid full
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
and Olympians and so
Yeah.
on. So I personally don't use them that
Yeah.
much with them.
Yeah.
I never, some coaches are going to use them, some coaches aren't. I personally don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I don't is because I feel that the placebo effect can be more detrimental to their performance. So I don't want them to wake up every day going,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't sleep so good."
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a device because I don't want to fat shame anything, but my device here says that I didn't recover from yesterday.
Yeah.
Coach, I shouldn't train so much today. I'm like, hey, come on, get in the mood. So I'm a little bit more, but this is elite. This is top,
Absolutely.
top level.
No,
So,
I get the distinction.
however, the general person who is listening to this, I think, if you don't understand your body so well, if you don't have that experience, you don't understand how to look after your sleep. You haven't worked with a coach, for example, like myself, or a professional in the industry that understands the training load, the stress loads, the sleep, the recovery, what your body can tolerate, can't tolerate, your blood panels. I do think wearables are smart for people to have. Personally, I love this Aura ring.
Yeah.
In Finland, you've got some very good devices out there. And hats off to you. You did some very good stuff. So there's a couple of devices. You've got the Aura ring. There's also Whoop. That's a US technology. First Beat is a very good 3-day tracking measurements that they do as well. So I think that these wearables are very good. What's the word for this? Interventions.
Yeah.
And you want to be tracking the trend, not the day-to-day, the trend. You want to see the weekly trend, the monthly trend. They're more important than a day-to-day basis. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks. Thanks for that. If we now elevate the discussion from an individual entrepreneur taking care of his or her wellness, if we then go more into the whole organization level, what would be your advice for entrepreneurs how they can create a work culture that promotes health and wellness within their own organization?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of consults for companies and we do seminars and so on. So the big factor that we are always saying that if you're able to reduce your sick days and your staff, you're going to save money. You're going to get more performance out of your business. So working in a corporation, I always think that there should be some time allowed for the members to exercise. You're going to get more productivity out of them. They're going to be healthier for longer. There's going to be less sick days. So yes, there's maybe a little pain for that half an hour that they get to exercise for the cost of the company. But if you look at the long term, it's going to be much more beneficial in my opinion. So how to do that? It depends on the organization. There's ways to do it, They can have some 30 minutes extra after lunch, before lunch, some specific sport passes. But I think as much emphasis on their health should be emphasized from the company standpoint.
Makes sense. I read the other day a couple of things that you wrote down, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that I was reading, you were saying that kind of this 8-hour workday is a bit of an ancient relic
Yeah.
as of now. And when we look at the studies, when we look at performance, uh, you could get a lot more out of people if they didn't sit in one place for 8 hours. But
Yeah.
you would split it into smaller buckets, and you would have some exercise or something else in between. Would you like to elaborate on that thinking a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the concentration, I think, for individuals, especially in the office place, when they're not out in the environment. For example, if I'm cutting trees down for my work, then it's a little bit different because you're actively moving all the time. But when you're sat in a stationary position and you're looking at a screen, the brain will start slowing down. You know, it's going to be that your concentration levels go down, your productivity is then going down, and then the company is actually paying for less work because the employee is not being able to perform at the best. So splitting it up, I think, into 2-hour segments or 4-hour segments and having some movement patterns or something to break that day up would be much more productive for any organization.
Yeah.
I mean, I know myself, I have a timer in my office. If I sit down, I have one task, I put 40 minutes and I just try to go as hard as I can for 40 minutes. That means I don't flip off the browser and open up new tabs. I just try to solely focus on this one task for 40 minutes. After that 40 minutes, I get up, move, walk around. You know, I'm in the gym, so I can cycle a little bit and, you know, try to put the next task at hand for the next 40 minutes. And it's a much more efficient working time.
So, sounds good. And I think one of the kind of implications that has been lasting since COVID times is that now we spend a lot of time in these video calls, and one of the things that I do see quite a bit is that you have one video call scheduled after another, and there's practically no time in between those, and then you just end up in this space where you're constantly sitting. And
the crazy thing is when this happened was we actually, because we have clients that had to transition to this home environment, and then we tracked the steps. And they aren't moving at all. They went from like averaging 6,000 steps per day down to like 1,500. Because the kitchen is so close. The bathroom is so close. You know, those extra 50 steps to get out your car, to get into the building, walking up the stairs, they've all gone. So the health of the individuals in your company is much lower if they are not active.
Very true. All right, I think we've actually covered the topics that I wanted to discuss with you today, and here in Gorilla Cast we have 2 closing questions that we always like to ask our guests. The first one is that in our theme of what the podcast is all about, what do you know today that you wish you had known years ago?
Yeah, this one I've been. This is a very good question. If I can relate it to your audience as best as I can, if I would have known, that making sleep a larger priority whilst growing my business from the beginning, if I was more conscious back then, I think I would have been healthier today than I am today. Because there was a time span of around about 5 years where it was a grind. Complete grind. So I think that with the knowledge I have today, my younger self, if I could have told him, I would have said, take more naps, sleep more, don't, you know, there's no need to just sacrifice your sleep that much. Because also you're going to make so many more mistakes. The productivity is going to be lower the next days. And I think if I would have took an extra couple of hours during those grind moments, but then again, you kind of, you learn a lot about yourself in those moments. But I think sleep is the biggest thing. And I think that's what, if I could advise everybody in a startup company, that should be your main priority over exercising when you're in the thick of it, like the real thick of it. So
I appreciate the advice, and I do know that when I was in the middle of the grind, one of the things that tended to happen to me was that there were so many thoughts going in my head that even when I was trying to sleep, I wasn't really able to get sleep, and that's the cycle that you do want to avoid. Because getting that quality sleep is going to improve everything else. If you sleep for that extra 2 hours, you're going to make more progress the following day. So
and I must say that I'm in a little bit of a lucky circumstance because my expertise and knowledge is actually about how to get better quality sleep.
Yep.
So at least that when I did sleep, my quality was very high.
Yeah.
However, I think that in today's society, we have a lot of information about how to sleep, but to actually put that into action, it's a little bit different. So
fully agreed. Then the second question in our podcast were all about learning curves and being able to learn as fast as you can. So given your history of building the business and having been in the fitness industry, what could have helped you move faster on your learning curve?
A financial backer. Yeah, I think that would have took a lot of my stress out. I mean, everything I did was on my own. So the skill sets that you have, in my industry, people a lot of the time educate, but then they have no time getting experience.
Yeah.
You need to get results. You need to actually have a good quality product. You need to have a good high skill set or whatever it is that you have. That has to be really fine-tuned before you try to grow.
Yeah. No, that's really solid advice again. And I think one of the things, just touching upon that, I've been lucky enough in my life that I've had a couple of people that I can really call mentors and who have really helped me in my professional career, and having once again read about your relationship with Charles Poliquin and everything like that, it seems that you've had that experience in your life as well, where you get to learn from someone and then apply those learnings into your own business and into your own work.
Yeah. So the first thing that I did was obviously Charles became my mentor, and then I just seeked out every best guy in every certain subject that I needed to find or needed to learn about, and just seek them out and then studied with those guys. So I've always wanted to be the best in the industry or one of the best, top 1%. So for me, that means that you have to act and learn from these type of guys and how they've achieved things. And I think that investment for me has been the biggest payoff. So learning the skill set, learning how to do it, and then putting it into practice is like, and now teach other people about it. So
very good. I want to thank you, Levi, so much for coming over and having a chat with me today. Just reflecting back on everything that we've discussed today, I do like your approach that sleep is the number one priority. If you don't get that somewhat right, nothing else really matters.
Just to add that obviously exercise also does matter.
No, but I was saying that getting the sleep in first and then finding the right level of exercise. So as you said, it can be a fairly small commitment when you're in the grind, but there needs to be a commitment. And then when you have more time, then you put more effort and also build it from there. All right. Thanks very much, Levi. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Amy. Cheers.